That is a real mess of a Tottenham Hotspur starting 11 that we put out in the North London derby yesterday that I think encapsulates all of our biggest issues, some of which it is down to Igor Tudor to fix. Some of them represent far wider problems at the football club. And we're going to go through 5 key points in this video in terms of problems that the club and Igor Tudor need to sort out to save us from relegation. One of the points that I want to talk about, we can't fix right now, but it's a huge issue as to why Spurs, or a huge factor as to why Spurs are in this mess. If you are new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe. My last video on this channel was my match reaction to the North London derby. There's going to be a lot of kind of follow-up content in the fallout of that, so make sure to subscribe. Also, please do subscribe to the channel that I've collabed with on this video, my new Bowman football account, where I talk about general Premier League stuff, Champions League. Obviously, a lot of stuff going to be in the run-up to the World Cup as well. So if you want to hear a bit more general footy chat from me, please make sure to subscribe. I'm literally less than 50 subscribers away from 1,000 on there, so it'd mean a hell of a lot for me, if you could go and subscribe. Now, there's been a bit of a discussion in the Spurs fan base online in the aftermath of the defeat to Arsenal yesterday, or the hammering against Arsenal yesterday, about whether it's quality or mentality that is kind of the biggest issue in this team. Because I think a lot of people, including myself, came away from the game yesterday with the conclusion that maybe that's more of an emotional reaction, that some of the players just don't really look up for this fight. Igor Tudor came out and said after the game yesterday that I believe these are good players with bad habits. And I think I've said consistently about this Spurs side that I've defended them, and I've said that I think they're better than a lot of people are kind of saying. No one, and let's get this clear, right? No matter how shiny the stadium, no matter how much revenue, no matter the transfer fees spent, etc., no one is ever too good to go down. And that applies to Tottenham. But I firmly believe that this football club shouldn't be in the position that it finds itself in right now. That starting 11, with how much of a mess it is at the moment, doesn't give me loads and loads of hope that we are going to get out of this, right? But there is obviously always a chance, and there are things that Igor Tudor needs to improve drastically. I want to kind of talk about some of those things first. I touched on them a little bit in my match review yesterday. I think obviously it's his first game. It's difficult to judge Igor Tudor too much after yesterday. I do think he was too slow with the substitutions. I don't think he was maybe brave enough in that second half to try and, even after the goal was disallowed, to sort of throw a bit more caution to the wind and get back in this game. I think a lot of Spurs fans, including myself, sort of said that we want to see a performance that we can kind of get behind, and that second half certainly wasn't that, but hopefully he would have learned a lot about the players yesterday. I think the 5 at the back is obviously the way that he likes to go. We said it in my North London derby preview that he has played basically 90+% of his games in charge as a manager with this kind of 3-4-3 setup. I didn't really think it was a 3-4-3 yesterday, if I'm being honest. It was more like a flat kind of back 5. Gray and Spence weren't really pushing on at all as wing backs. And again, it's square pegs in round holes. And I think the biggest issue that leads to this is the recruitment and the injuries. I haven't spoken loads about Tottenham's injuries on social media. Obviously, I've spoken about it a bit. It's a big talking point within our fan base. I don't necessarily feel like it gets publicised enough within the kind of wider media compared to maybe some other clubs that have far less significant injury crises than we do. But this is Tottenham's kind of current injuries and suspension compared to other Premier League teams. We've got one attacker out, which I guess they would probably put down as Kudus, or I don't really know who they're classing as an attacker there, because obviously Odebear and Kudus are both out at the moment. Richarlison, Solanke and Colomwani all in the matchday squad yesterday. 5 midfielders and 5 defenders. Obviously Romero, Danso, Porro, all unavailable at the moment. And then midfield, you go to Kulusevski, you go to Maddison, Bentancur, Bergval, etc. And obviously more further injuries as well. Kinski wasn't even on the bench yesterday as well. But again, backup goalkeeper, how much are you kind of looking into that? And of course Romero is a suspension, self-inflicted of course. But this injury crisis is quite something else, quite something. But the biggest cause of that is the recruitment, right? And this is something that we can't necessarily fix in this period between now and the end of the season. We've got 10, 11 games, I think, left. It is. And apparently, according to the Opta analyst, Premier League predicted final table, Spurs have only got a 4.35% chance of going down. I think the percentage is far higher than that. The threat of relegation is far more significant than 4.35%, and those players have got to show the awareness of that kind of situation, really. But coming back to the recruitment, and I don't want to be really harsh on individual players after yesterday, right? Even though, and I'll talk about this more when we kind of come to the mentality, some of them have got to have a long, long look at themselves in the mirror and really kind of butt their ideas up, in my opinion. But I look at Conor Gallagher playing there, right, which I think is probably his preferred position on paper, even though he wasn't really playing as a number 10 yesterday. And maybe in games where we'll have more of the ball potentially, you'll see him better used in that area. The game plan was to kind of just sit back and try and hit Arsenal on the break, win second balls. I don't think he was close enough to Mawani, really. I think Mawani was quite isolated. I don't really think Simmons had a lot of players around him necessarily to kind of help him. But again, he was poor yesterday in terms of on-the-ball quality. And I think, and again, I'll kind of talk about that more when I come to the quality, but you look at Spence playing left wing-back, you look at Archie Gray playing right wing-back, you look at Paulinho playing right-sided centre-back, right? We have been very unlucky with injuries, but it is also so self-inflicted. And I think I spoke about this in a video a few weeks back, saying that Tottenham Hotspur Football Club deserve to be in the position that they currently find themselves in. The fans don't at all. I think I've seen some, because rival fans want Spurs to go down and they think that at points as a fan base we've got a bit above our station and whatever that kind of means, right? They're saying that we deserve this. There's no way Tottenham Hotspur fans deserve this. With the constant kind of gaslighting from the owners over the years and all those kind of things, and not building the squad in such a way that, I mean, has led us into this mess, really. I go back to Conor Gallagher in the transfer market, and that kind of links to the point of quality. Spurs were absolutely crying out for a ball-playing midfielder that could, be comfortable on the ball, help us progress through the line, show composure on it. And I think that was the complete antithesis of what Conor Gallagher's performance was yesterday. And again, look, I think Gallagher is still probably adjusting a little bit to the Premier League, even though he started in, I think, basically every game in the Premier League that he's come in for so far. But on the ball, he looks like a fish out of water a little bit, really. He's really struggling. And I don't think his on-the-ball quality in sort of the central midfield area or deeper midfield areas has ever been when he's done his best work. There were so many times yesterday where under a slight bit of pressure, he looks like he's going to fall over on the ball. He gives the ball away. And even off the ball, I feel like he's kind of almost a bit late to everything at the moment as well, which is one of the biggest reasons why I think people were pro kind of bringing him in. And I think there was a lot of discourse online around the signing of Conor Gallagher. And I was one of those people that initially reacted quite badly to it. I didn't think it was what we needed. But when it looked like it was happening, of course, you try and put the positives out there, because there are positives to Conor Gallagher's game. And I think in a fairly complete squad, with what he brings in terms of his leadership, his goal-scoring ability, which we haven't really seen at all yet, his pressing from the front, and quality in moments in the final third, then I think he's a good piece in a complete squad. But Spurs are far from that. And that is then when you look at the other areas of the team. Dragusin playing central centre-back. I thought Dragusin did okay yesterday in the first half, but got bullied in the second half. And again, I go back to the recruitment back when Dragusin was signed. Like, again, it's one that you try and find the positives a little bit in, and I think he's had some decent moments, in very fleeting moments for Tottenham and for Romania in those Euros, the kind of summer after we signed him. We thought this guy's going to be a good squad player, good centre-back, good backup. But again, in terms of the way that Ange wanted to play, his biggest weaknesses, I think Dragusin, which are on the ball, massively sort of contradict what Ange was trying to build with his philosophy in terms of how he wanted to play, right? So he's probably someone that shouldn't have made it this far, I guess. I know injuries have obviously held Spurs back from being able to maybe move him on in ways that they would probably want to. But I look at Gray playing right wing back, I look at Spence playing left wing back. In terms of the quality in the team at the moment, Romero and Porro's returns, which are hopefully, I mean, Romero's obviously he's only missing one more game, and Porro is hopefully the next cab off the rank in terms of his injury. Hopefully he's back for the Fulham game, because I think those two, despite the fact that they've not been at their best, despite the fact that Porro has, that Burnley game, the last game he played was a really, really poor performance. Maybe he needs this rest. Maybe he needs this bit of reset, because I think he got driven into this cycle of these poor games because of being overplayed. He was the most used player of the Ange era, started basically every game for Frank up until he got injured. And I think he was our only real one outlet in terms of progression on the ball. And I also think in terms of mentality, despite the fact that people can question Porro at times, and don't get me wrong, some of his on-pitch behaviour and antics is a strong word, but you know what I mean, sometimes in terms of going at the crowd or whatever can be a bit irritating. I think he is a bit of a warrior. I think we miss him. And certainly on the ball, those two raise our technical floor significantly. But again, we still haven't really got a proper left back to compete for a doggy. And Spence down that left-hand side yesterday moving forward, so kind of symptomatic of the issues that we've seen from him so far at Spurs, playing at left back, where, yeah, defensively, he can help you out for sure. For sure. Some part of me thinks he's almost better defensively on that side, but he doesn't want to get up the pitch. It's all right if he's got space, but he doesn't want to take the man on, knock it past him and run and stretch the pitch to allow Simmons or whoever's playing in that left 10 spot or left wing spot when we played a fullback under Frank to kind of come in, right, and allow them the space to do that. And this is all as a result of the squad building and planning. The injuries are a byproduct of that, and the mess that we currently find ourselves in is as a result of that as well. And those are two things that we can't fix. Obviously, injured players are going to return. Hopefully, after the next international break, we'll have most of the players, bar Kulusevski and Maddison, back. Kudus, I think will be big for us, hopefully, in that run into between now and the end of the season. But that is a real mess. So the quality... I've defended some of these players at points, right? But even Javi Simmons, like, the way he gave the ball away yesterday, he's done it too often, I think, in recent matches, despite the fact that I think his general levels of performance have got better. Like, Man City, I thought he was amazing. He's had some good Champions League games as well. Like, he's been better for Spurs, definitely over the last few months, kind of finding his groove a little bit. But again, it wouldn't be as much of an issue if the team was fairly complete around him, which it's certainly not, which could maybe hide some of the flaws and allow him to more time to kind of develop and grow into the Premier League. But we might not even be a Premier League club this season, so we kind of need him to kind of step up and stop giving the ball away in silly scenarios. And it's just that on-the-ball quality that is really lacking that I think is the biggest issue, but that manifests itself in the team at the moment. But it's all a trickle-down effect from leaving holes and gaps in the squad, meaning that we've got to kind of put this hodgepodge team out with a real lack of on-the-ball quality and just so many players being used as square pegs in round holes. That's the biggest issue. Mentality is also a problem. Like, Igor Tudor spoke about where is the goal of this club, where is the goal of this team, and all those kind of things. I think a lot of maybe home truths would have been delivered to him after the game yesterday. And maybe it's never a good thing to get beat at home to Arsenal, and certainly not in the manner that we did. But maybe it's made him realise the scale of the job at hand and what more work needs to kind of go in on the training ground to breathe kind of confidence and more life into these players. And I'm definitely not saying it's a good thing, but if you can try and take a positive out of that, then maybe it is that. But I don't think so. Igor Tudor said I believe these are good players with bad habits. That was kind of the headline quote after the game yesterday. And like I said earlier at the start of the video, I do agree to an extent. And I think that does that manifest itself in this clip with Mickey van der Ven here, where Igor Tudor was telling him to get up and Van der Ven is just not doing it. We didn't see Van der Ven driving forward with the ball yesterday at all, really, to try and break the lines and show a bit of responsibilities, take off the shackles, when I think Van der Ven has actually stood up and done that at points for Spurs this season, right? Bournemouth game, I thought he was so fired up for that game. But what sort of changed after? Because I think his performances largely have been poor since then, right? He won that penalty that then was overturned in that game, right? And he looked so fired up for it. Did we leave Frank in charge too long and these players are kind of tuned out? Or are they still in the mindset of Thomas Frank's kind of cautious approach? And I know Igor Tudor is also a pragmatic manager, but I think from what we've seen at Juventus in terms of his philosophy, I think he is more aggressive than someone like a Frank. But also then translating that to the Premier League is obviously a difficult task in itself, right? So it's a difficult one. And I think Van der Ven, I think he was really poor yesterday. And I think sometimes you can look at someone and tell that they're not in it. And he really needs to be. Really needs to be dialed in. And I think part of me thinks that, and I don't want to come across as like a gammon, right? Is it a gammon take, what I'm about to say? But I've said it for a while. Like, I think that it looks like, from a fan's point of view, that some of these players don't look like they've got the stomach for the fight. Is it that? Is it just a lack of quality? Is it a lack of belief? Is it a lack of effort? I'm not sure it's effort. I think it is more belief. But again, like, these guys are getting paid a decent amount of money. And just the circumstances that we find ourselves in at the moment, leading up to a World Cup, The likes of Van der Ven, are they kind of thinking, well, my place in the team for the Netherlands isn't, or squad for the Netherlands isn't going to be threatened. If I have a good tournament, then I'll probably get the move I want. Certainly, I'll get the move I want if we go into the Championship. My stepdad said something yesterday that the owners should go into that playing squad and go, by the way, like if we go down, we're not selling any of you. Like, not selling any of you. You're all under contract. Like, we've got I'm not saying this is realistic, but, we've got the money and the revenue coming in from the football club for outside events to continue to pay your wages. So you'll be still staying here and you're going to have to get us out of this mess, right? And I'm not saying that's the way to run your football club, but it's an interesting point. But I do think the mentality of some of these players is wrong. Is wrong. I don't think they're doing enough. And is that as a result of an overcautious approach from Thomas Frank that hasn't let them play with that freedom? I'm not sure, because as I said, Mickey van der Ven was doing more of the stuff that we know from him, almost despite the constraints of the system, in previous games under Thomas Frank. Like making those line-breaking runs out from the back, carrying the ball forwards. It's a real... There are so many issues, it's hard to pinpoint the biggest one. But I do think that the player's mentality is a problem, and Igor Tudor is going to have to fix that, going to have to breathe more confidence into these players, acknowledge the situation, and maybe the fact that this weekend made the situation far more drastic and far more dark and far more real, even though we got away with West Ham dropping points and Nottingham Forest dropping points, but they were unlucky. Like, if you look at this, right, and the bookies have got us 18% likely to go down, West Ham 53, Nottingham Forest 26. The Opta predicted table has Spurs with only a 4.35% chance, and West Ham as good as nailed on to be that fourth team, right? And we'll come on to their fixtures in a moment. I'm going to do a video on my Ben Bowman football channel, by the way, kind of not predicting, but sort of what I might do is get a fan from every club that's sort of could be in this and kind of talk through it a little bit more. And we'll obviously go through the games and the fixtures, so I'll do that in a bit more detail there. But you look at Tottenham's games, like Fulham away next weekend, I'll be there, it's tough. I know Fulham haven't been as good recently. I know they won at the weekend, though, yesterday. It's not going to be easy. We need some players back for that one. And then Palace at home on the Thursday after. I don't really want to see any excuses about tired legs because we've had a long rest between the Newcastle game and the Arsenal game. And then Liverpool, a week off, and then Liverpool. Or 10 days off or so, and then Liverpool. Forest before the international break is absolutely massive. It's so big. It's so big. And then Brighton again. Like, all our home games are kind of against teams in and around us and in and around this fight, right? Leeds and not so much Everton, but Leeds, Brighton, Palace, Forest. It's going to be... They need to really step up for these games because they've not stepped up in enough home games. Forest have got tough fixtures. They've got City, at a glance, Villa. They've still got European football to contend with as well, as have we. Sunderland away, which is tough. Chelsea away, which is tough. But so have we again. Newcastle, Man United, and Bournemouth. And then West Ham. I know they've got Leeds final day, but they've probably got tougher games kind of coming up in the kind of more immediate future. Liverpool away, Fulham away, Brentford at home, West Ham. Man City away, Man City at home, Villa away, Crystal Palace away, Brentford away, Everton at home, Arsenal at home, Newcastle away, and then Leeds, which could be a 6-pointer at the end of the day. But I think Leeds are going to be okay. I just think that this 4.35% predicting us to end on like 43 points, which I think 40 points definitely will get you safe in this league. I don't see that. I don't see it being as slim as that we go down. I really, really don't. And Igor Tudor has got to find a way to breathe more confidence in his team, getting them playing with more quality, get some of the players back, shake the cautious mentality a little bit. There's things that he can't fix, like the recruitment. But if we survive this season, we have to try and build that squad away in the summer, despite the fact that we're not going to have European football unless we win the Champions League, obviously, to make sure this doesn't happen again, because it's absolutely unacceptable. So those are the kind of 5 key main points that I wanted to talk through that all kind of intrinsically link into each other. Some that it's Igor Tudor's job to fix. Overall, it's the club's problem to fix. But the players have got to look at themselves as well. Let me know what you think in the comments, what the biggest issue facing Spurs is right now, how confident you are of us getting out of this mess. And I'll see you in the next video. Obviously, a lot more content to come over the next week or so in the lead up to the Fulham game and still the fallout from this and kind of general things about Spurs. So if there's anything that you want me to talk about specifically in a video, then please do go and let me know in the comments. Please make sure to go and subscribe to Ben Bowman Football as well. You can see all of the kind of handles for all of my other stuff are in the ticker down the bottom. If you like the upgrading, kind of the setup as well, with the borders and the background and the ticker at the bottom, then please let me know. Hopefully it doesn't feel a bit too newsy for you. Hopefully it still feels kind of like personal. But I'm always looking to make upgrades into the videos, and there's going to be a lot more to come as we build this channel and build the other channel as well. So I'm always grateful for your support. We'll keep giving our support to this Spurs team. Listen to the fans yesterday, but they've got to do more. The manager's got to do more, and the club have certainly got to do more moving forward to make sure this never ever happens again if we got out of it.